Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, June 16th, 2024, and this is the Weekend Roundup. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 12 of the world-renowned Weekend Roundup, proudly brought to you by Just Bleed Radio. This is the podcast spawned by a podcast about a sport where grown men wear tiny shorts and give each other brain damage for fortune and fame. 60 minutes or less to rattle off all the absolute madness of this week, so let's not waste any more time. Real quick, we gotta hit him with a little roll call. Pests and vermin scatter. He turns creepy crawlers to cadavers. Don't live like a slob, 'cause no specials on the job, bitch. Ah, and yes, though the accent sounds quite grand, he's quick to deal a dead man's hand. Dangermouse has pocket rockets, and he's not just happy to see ya. So should you ever start to worry or question what comes next, take a look who cashed them checks. Baby Super Dave Fairtex. And oh me? Who me? Oh, you remember the syllables. Lazybed, bitch. And that's ironic, not literal. Let's go. How y'all doing, boys?
I'm good, Lazy. It's been a fun day so far.
Yes, full of betrayals and heartbreak. Also, it's yeah, it's a very special day over here. So good times for those.
Happy
If you know, you know.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to all those fathers. That I didn't say
Yes.
last.
Yeah, happy Father's Day. And if that last statement by Austin didn't make much sense, it's because this episode I think will make the air before what he's talking about. So yeah, you might be a little confused, but it'll all make sense in time.
Yes. Busy weekend, but
Yeah,
one of
busy
those
boys.
things. Busy, very busy, and now I have another reason to be extra today. So we'll have fun. We'll have definitely fun.
All right, last thing before we get started here, hit the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. Once you do, we officially become blood brothers and we're bonded forever. So do it at your own peril, I guess.
Legally binding.
Legally binding. Legally binding. Now, we're gonna get into at least the main event of last night's UFC event here just in a little bit. But there's no doubt what we gotta lead this show off with. What a fucking week for the quote-unquote world leader in combat sports. We were shaking things up more than BC with a bottle of MK lotion this week when it comes to multiple fights across several cards. I really don't even know where to begin, so I guess we'll just go with the McGregor-Chandler news just to get it out of the way. Fellas, here we are again. Fights off indefinitely. Michael Chandler is now 63 years old. In steps Yuri Prohashka and Alex Pereira to once again save the day and rescue International Fight Week. Cue the Land Down Under music. What do we got to say about this situation? Do we even care anymore? Did we ever care? No special. You led the Connor talk last time. What say you do it again?
I'm not gonna say I called it because that's not exactly, not even close. What happened.
No, Lazy called it in the footage.
Yeah, I just figured they switched the main event for sure. I don't know why they're so dead set on this goddamn fight happening, because it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If they were gonna do it, they should have done it immediately after the goddamn Ultimate Fighter. But no. We're coming off on, what was it? I said 18 months. It is possibly going to even be, from what I understand, when listening to all the news and whatnot and all the little snippets and whatnot that are out there, they're hoping for next month. And that's good news if you're Michael Chandler, because then that doesn't mean you're waiting another 6 months like I had previously thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, this fight this fight doesn't do it for me, nor did it ever do it for me. Matter of fact, I don't understand why they're so hell bent on this fight even taking place, considering you can literally put McGregor against anybody and it would sell. I mean, the gate alone that they were selling or talking about was just ridiculous numbers anyway. So, I don't know. It doesn't do anything more for me. The card overall wasn't great. We're going to talk about what the replacements were for that, and ultimately, like, I don't know who this fight's for because it's definitely not for me. I don't even know if it's for the casual fan. I'm honestly thinking it's for Dana White, and that's about it. That's it. Because nobody else wants this.
Yeah, it's like the Jones and Stipe fight, yeah.
Exactly.
Fucking
Mouse, go ahead. You got any thoughts on this McGregor bullshit?
Yeah, I mean, very similar to Austin, really. I was never really cared about this fight too much. I think I said last week when we were talking about it that I'll watch it because I watch every UFC fight. That's no big deal. Even when I fall asleep, I generally watch them the next day. I don't think I'll fall asleep watching this one. It should be an entertaining enough fight when it eventually happens. But I was quite amused to hear the MMA guru saying after the fight was cancelled, he'd finally realised he didn't care about it. So I was like, yeah, congratulations. Welcome to the world that the rest of us have been living in for the last 6 months. I'd love Chandler to get his red panty night. He deserves it for the amount of time he's taken off. His best. I heard someone saying he was losing his prime. His prime was 5 years ago. He's 37 years old now. You know, it's not like we've lost anything great as far as Chandler's performance goes. I don't think. I have seen a little bit of the footage of McGregor. He did look good in sparring. Apparently, he's hurt his leg, the one he broke, so he's off for at least 4 to 6 weeks. I think I've heard August or September as a likely replacement fight for it. But yeah, I just don't really care. I know we're going to go on to it very shortly, so I won't bother going on to that right now. But yeah, the replacement is just fine by me. So yeah, when it happens, I'll watch it. Until it happens, as I've said before, until Conor sets foot in the cage, I do not believe this fight will happen. So yeah, I hope you get your fight, Chandler. But if you don't, you're the one who sat out of your. You could have had the bag probably 2 or 3 times in now. Had some decent fights, but you chose not to. So yeah, when it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, I don't care. And yeah, that's all I've got to say with that. Drifting on to other topics.
The only thing I gotta say about it is, like, there goes your fucking $20 million gate, guys, that you were all bragging about and fucking Dana was hyping up in the media. Because if any listeners don't know, in the state of Nevada, if the main event gets canceled in a mixed martial arts event, all those tickets are subject to refund.
Yeah.
So for all those fucking, $5,000-$6,000 fucking tickets that they sold, say goodbye to that shit. But yeah, just ultimately, like, I really don't give a fuck anymore about this. It's long since overstayed its welcome in my fucking day-to-day MMA media viewing. I'm tired of hearing about McGregor. I'm tired of hearing his excuses. I'm tired of Chandler's inspirational quotes. I'm just fucking sick to death of the whole thing altogether. So if it happens, good and great. If it doesn't happen, I don't fucking give a fuck. If they both retire tomorrow, I really don't give a shit either. So.
Yeah, it's like one of them, like, honestly should have been like, all right, well, if it doesn't happen, let's just move on. The fact that this is a thing that's been persistent, like, oh, it's going to happen, blah, 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 blah. Like, what, for who? The momentum for this has been gone. It's been gone for, like, goddamn a year. And what's going on?
I will point out to my newly acquired enemy, Austin, that I did tell you that Chandler was not going to take another fight.
I am thankfully it's closer in proximity from what this one was. I was assuming it was going to be like in December that he'd have to wait. That's why I was like, okay, if it's closer, that makes more sense. But, like, again, the injury, it's all, what are we doing here? It's just also, well, yeah, enemy now until this fight happens. And then once you're wrong, I will prove you wrong again, and I will never let you forget this.
All right. Well, much like Chandler should have given up on that fight and just moved on, we're going to give up on it and just move on too, because that's not all, folks. We also got wind of the cancellation of the co-main event for IFW as well when Jamal Hill fell out of his fight against world's most beautiful light heavyweight Carlos Ulberg. And stepping in to fill Hill's big, goofy, floppy-footed shoes would be none other than the toughest matchup that's ever been put on a piece of paper. Yes, Anthony Smith will now face Carlos Ulberg in a battle of the big cats as the Black Jag squares off against Lion Fart. Danger Mouse, our fans are aware that you know a lot about cats given one of our previous episodes. So why don't you give us your thoughts on this one first if you have any?
Yeah, okay. This was originally, but correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't this Khalil Roundtree versus Hill? And then Roundtree dropped out because of the drugs issue thing, which is being cleared of. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had Ulberg versus Hill, which was looking like a vaguely interesting fight, and now we have Smith stepping in on short notice, which is interesting because not a month or 6 weeks ago, he was saying that he was no longer going to step in for these kind of fights. It was stupid. And then what does he do? He gets a win and jumps straight into the cage against Ulberg, who is very, very dangerous without a shadow of a doubt. Oh yeah, it's just one of those stupid things. I haven't really looked into this one very much, but Smith is always a dubious kind of guy to bet on. You know, on paper he looks good. When he steps into the cage, it can often be a very different thing. I'm probably edging towards Ulberg, to be honest, in this one, but I'm not completely convinced as yet. And this one, any pick I make on this one is certainly not legally binding. So yeah, I mean, it should be a decent enough fight. I would have rather seen Khalil versus Hill for a straightforward, like a kickboxing match, I guess. But it is what it is. It's the fight. It's a decent enough fight. I can't complain about it. Yeah, look forward to it. That's really all I've got to say on it.
Escaping the legally binding part, I see.
We're not doing a preview show for this card yet, so bog off, Austin.
If you can't tell, I'm groaning because I don't know how to feel about this because it just feels all stupid. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Carlos Ulberg, but there is a part of me that's like, you know what? We haven't really seen him on the ground. We haven't really seen him face a guy who will willingly choose to take him to the mat and keep him there past the first round. That would be the only thing I'm interested in seeing in this co-main event. We have two things that we have to think about. A, it's a short notice for Smith. B, Smith is not the greatest stand-up fighter. And C, Ulberg has never really been pushed on the ground. So, of those three things, two of them are against Smith. I'm going to say if you're going to give me like an idea of reasonable time frame, you can honestly say like Smith can probably give him a tough fight. Ulberg is not that guy that generally struggles in his fights, which is interesting to think about considering this is light heavyweight. But he's also looked very good in his striking, this aspect. He's probably one of the better strikers in the division. I'm not gonna say he's the best, but he's definitely one of the better ones. It's a dangerous fight for Smith, but Smith has this almost like a roach. just this innate ability to survive and consistently find ways to win in this division that is just full of like guys who are a mix between terrible athletes and inconsistent like game plans. I'll say that much. I basically am just kind of I'm indifferent to it now. But I am gonna lean Ulberg because Anthony Smith is not that guy. And A, it's short notice for Smith, and B, it's Smith is not known as a great striker.
No.
We've never seen Ulberg put on the mat or go past the first round. There's more things going against Smith than there is Ulberg, but it's just an interesting concept.
How are Ulberg's leg kicks? Does he use them a lot? I can't remember.
Not a lot, if I remember correctly. He's usually more of a counter striker.
Okay. We know that's Hill's weakness.
You mean Smith?
Sorry, yeah, Smith's. Yeah, sorry, I'm reading. I'm looking at.
I know it's so weird. So,
I'm looking at my script while I'm talking. That's why.
oh my god.
So yeah, I agree. Hill's
Yeah.
sorry, Smith has a chance if he can get it to the ground, but can he get
Yeah.
it to the ground? That's the question.
Yeah, that is the whole thing. He's not known as a wrestler, so I doubt that's going to
No.
be the case.
Yeah, I guess my only thoughts on this one, in a way, it favors Olberg. It's sort of a double-edged sword. In a way, it favors him, but in a way, it kind of sucks for him because if he would have got the Hill fight, he would almost been guaranteed a stand-up affair. And obviously, that's Olberg's realm. Now that he's taken on somebody like Smith, there is that possibility that they could get into some grappling exchanges, which may spell trouble for him. But as we know, Smith is fucking old and over the hill and washed and everything else. So in that sense, it does favor him. But yeah. At least to fill in, I'm just happy that Carlos was able to stay on the card, even though he lost his co-main event spot. But happy he gets to stay on there because I do like me some Carlos Olberg.
It's probably good for Hill as well. He really shouldn't have been stepping into the cage. Was it 3 months after Alex Pereira didn't knock him out, which we all know, of course, he did.
Yeah, that was probably for the best for him at least.
Well, so to clarify one last time, guys, that is McGregor versus Chandler at UFC 303, canceled and postponed indefinitely, with Yuri and Poatan filling in for your new main event. Jamal Hill out with an injury, and taking his place against Carlos Olberg will be Anthony Smith. And the one bit of news that I failed to mention thus far, a brand new co-main event added to the lineup in Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega. All that being said, this leads me directly into our fan question of the week. This one coming to us from longtime listener Too Much BHP, who asked, is this UFC 303 card actually better with these new replacement fights? So shout out Too Much BHP, and fellas, do you think this card actually got a bump up with the previously booked fights falling through?
I'll jump in if I may.
Yeah.
Answer my fellow Yorkshireman's question, because I found out the other day that he only lives about 40 miles up the road from where I am. We have kind of skimmed over the replacement main event for this fight. We didn't actually get onto Alex versus Jury. But yeah, in very short notice, yeah, this card is better than having Connor and Chandler head in it. I don't mind that the co-main has changed. That's fine as well. Should be an interesting fight. The main event is far better, although again it's fairly short notice for Alex. I believe he does still have a couple of broken toes, but that didn't seem to bother him versus Hill. He was down under, I believe, when he got the phone call saying, "Do you want to come back and have a fight?" And he was like, all you could hear was Charmer. Yeah, let's go. I've seen the picture of him in the car, the film of him in the car taking the phone call, because all of his mates thought he was joking. But no, Alex has stepped in to save the UFC yet again. He seems to have a habit for doing this. This guy is he's sprinting to the Hall of Fame. There is not a shadow of a doubt this guy is going to get in there. And with what was he had now, 8 or 9 UFC fights? He's fought God knows how many champions now. I can't bother to try and work it out. Yeah, this is a fantastic replacement for me. I am much happier with this than I was with the original card. So yeah, Too Much BHP. This is definitely 100%, no shadow of a doubt, a better card for me. We've got Ortega, haven't we, as well? Ortega versus Lopez on this one.
Yep.
Yeah, which again, that should be an interesting fight. But yeah, absolutely, no argument. I might as well pass it over to someone else now.
The concept of a McGregor pay-per-view is to create a boxing card, pretty much main event heavy, with a B side that is sellable, and basically lighter weight fighters that also, or a majority of fighters who are lesser paid, so that a majority of pay goes to McGregor, so that they don't have to have a big expenditure on the pay-per-view fights. That is what has been the case as of late for McGregor. And now that we have no McGregor, it might hurt them in the end as far as ticket sales and pay-per-view buys. But I think it's a better card in quality, because as much as I dislike the fact that it's a closer they have fights between them, which is usually not the case in immediate rematches. This is close. I don't hate it. Matter of fact, I love it. With the main event with Jerry Prohaska versus Alex Pereira too, and the first one was kind of iffy just because we had a short, quicker stoppage. The way it kind of came about, and it's not anybody's fault. It just happens. This is the way the sport works sometimes. But then again, sometimes we get chances for fixing situations that we thought were unfair or things that we thought were done wrong with the main event. And I think it's going to be a closer fight. It's going to be a better fight. But can't go wrong with the way that this division's built. Two former champions, or I should say two champions, one former, one current, and the main event is what it is. The co-main, I don't even know what to say. It's just going to be an exciting fight overall. It's going to be, someone had described it as two cats in a bag literally killing each other. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Sounds cool.
Great. Literally, if I was going to pay money for the card that was given, I was going to be more disappointed for it. Now I'm happy to actually pay for this, even full price.
Yeah, I mean, I think I made it pretty obvious with my previous statements about McGregor, but I'm about fucking sick to death of all the theater that surrounds him and the drama and the way he takes over the media cycle in the MMA world when there's a fight being discussed with him. And I've had enough of that shit. And as entertaining as Chandler is, you're at the tail end of your career. All you're gonna be in is fun fights, if anything, if you have any fights left on your career. So yeah, I'm not the most disappointed in them falling out. And of course, I'm extremely happy that we got the replacement that we did in Prohashka and Pereira, because like you were saying, Austin, um, the stoppage in that first one,
Yeah, touch of controversy in that one.
yeah, a bit of possible prematureness to that, and also like we as fans got robbed of what could have been. So to be able to get an opportunity to see it all over again and hopefully a better fight than we got the first time, can't go wrong there. And we got to keep Ulberg on the card, even though he slots down to, I believe, the opener, if I'm not mistaken. So he stays on, and then we also get the addition of Diego Lopes and Ryan Ortega. So, and that's going to be a fucking fantastic fight. So I'd say ultimately, although you lose the box office appeal of McGregor, you gained a much more exciting card overall in general.
I think Alex might be a bigger draw with the more modern fans. They're not so much casuals.
Yeah, he's a fucking huge star. There's no doubt about that.
I've got one other thing to say on this. I want to get the world's smallest violin out to play for Ian Gary, who is no longer on a Conor McGregor led card. His wife must be exploding. He so wants to be on a card with McGregor. Not, I think, because he was getting part of the pay-per-view, obviously. He's an up-and-comer at the moment. But he just wanted to be there at that press conference with McGregor. So good luck, kid. You've got one more chance to get on a card with Conor.
Well, at least he'll get to stay home and do his favorite thing: watch.
Oh.
Oh, dirty blow from Lazy there.
Oh god. All right. Well, with that, I think that's gonna just about wrap up our question of the week here. If you have a question of your own that's burning a hole in your brain and you want the gang here to break it down, feel free to leave it in the comments below or email the show at justbleedradio1@gmail.com. That's justbleedradio and the number 1@gmail.com.
Yeah, don't forget the number one, or it'll go to some completely random person. We have no idea who that is. Someone stole our email.
Son of a bitch.
Go get him, Austin.
I will find him. I will. I'll make him an enemy of the show.
All right, so last chunk of news, I guess, for now. The other huge but semi-expected fighter pullout of the week was Mr. Khamzat Chimaev. Speculation was fucking swirling online the day this one got called off, but again, luckily we found ourselves a late last-minute replacement as Ikram Aliskerov unexpectedly finds himself in a prime spot here, pulled from a show in the Apex and swapped into a much, much bigger spotlight in the main event of the very hyped Saudi Arabia card. We don't gotta get too much or into this too much because we will be going over it on a forthcoming preview show. But just generally, guys, thoughts on Hamzat once again having health issues and not making a fight. Austin, you want to go first?
Yeah. Clearly, someone did not want the smoke from a former champion. Then he is running scared back to his friend and dictator, Khamzat Kadyrov, because God forbid this man is afraid of Robert Whittaker, the man from down under. A true man, a man of the people, a man of your heart, and of possibly all MMA fans across all sport. Fuck you if you don't like Robert Whittaker. You're an enemy of the show. No, on a serious note, this man is, since he caught COVID and has had health issues since then, he has not been the same. Matter of fact, when he fought, he's always had some kind of an issue every time he fights. He broke his hand against Usman, and he gassed immediately after the first round. There was an issue when he missed weight against Nate Diaz, and he also basically, chose to kind of accept that he missed weight, didn't take any responsibility for it. Is it just me, or does it feel like he is no longer that guy? He can't leave the region for reasons of his own doing, possibly, and B, he's just never healthy for reasons that possibly could have, been addressed sooner. There's nothing that tells me that this is going to be the guy that we think he's was supposed to be at one point. This killer, this guy who rushes in and kills all of these dudes in this division. He's no longer that. He struggled at 170 at the end of his reign there, or not even a reign, realistically. He just happened to have a couple of fights at welterweight, and then he's also now had a couple of fights at middleweight to no avail because, again, he is his biggest obstacle. Not all his own issue, or even at fault for most of them. Circumstance. And that's the thing. I think it sucks. It's just he is a victim of circumstance. Some of it of his own doing. Others things are out of his control. He's not that guy anymore. However, the replacement fight that we have is not a bad fight at all. Do I think it's too much for the man coming in? Absolutely. Do I think Robert Whittaker is going to fuck him up and win and get another title fight? Absolutely. But I'm also going to say that I am a stand for Robert Whittaker. He is my boy. He is the man I will forever cheer for no matter what happens. So, as Mouse just found out, yes. But there's not much more I can say because it's just more speculation. But there is a line that is coming closer to where he can get over it and things can be addressed. He's straddling the line right now to where it's just he will never be that guy, and there will be things that prevent him from actually being a top level elite fighter in a division on a consistent basis. And right now he's straddling that line between being the guy that we expected and just being a flash in the pan.
Yeah, I can't really disagree too much. I said, I was fully aboard the Khamzat train when it started. And I think most of us were when we saw that first performance on Yaz Island when he came out and I can't remember the guy's name offhand. Beat the living hell out of the guy. He landed 2 punches on him. And then it turned out that he did pretty well because for the next 4 fights, no one pretty much laid a glove on Khamzat. And then we had the entire COVID thing. We had the video of him spitting up blood in the sink. And now we've had this follow-up pull-out, which apparently has been going on for some time, according to what his camp has said. They've struggled to find a cure for whatever ails him at the moment. Yeah, I mean, at one point we were looking at Khamzat as a 170 champ, a 185 champ, and maybe a 205 champ. This guy possibly could have got 3 belts, and now that seems so long ago now. We know for a fact he's not going back to 170. He missed weight by 8.5 pounds when he was supposed to fight Nate, which did save Nate's life, no doubt. And Khamzat didn't really care about that one. So he's back to 185. He's clearly dangerous there, but we haven't really seen him fight a top level middleweight at all. He fought Usman, but Usman was a blown up welterweight. And he jumping off the couch with 9 days' notice took Khamzat to the edge of defeat. If that had been a 5-round fight, I think Usman would have taken that one. As you say, Ikram is the guy that Khamzat has beaten. He's the only loss that Ikram has faced. He lost to a beautiful uppercut, it must be said, from Khamzat in that fight. I mean, it's a good replacement, because at the end of the day, Ikram fights in a similar manner to Khamzat, so Rob's camp isn't wasted. We've already had a discussion about who's going to win this one. But I'll leave that for anyone who wants to watch our preview show, which is going to come out a little later. But yeah, a good replacement. I can't fault the replacement. I don't think they could have found anyone better. Best of luck to Hamza. I hope he gets well soon. But as Austin said, I don't think we're going to see the great that we thought we were going to see back in the day. Maybe he will become that new player in that game. The 185 level division is looking up at the moment. There's some good fighters in it. We have Bo Nickel snapping at the heels of the top 15. He's going to be a problem when he eventually gets there. So yeah, as far as replacements go, about as good as you could hope for, I think. And other than that, I really can't say anything else, because I've already said it somewhere else.
Well, yeah, I would agree with, I think, most everything that both you guys said. You virtually summed it up. A couple of things that did pop into my head, though, as you were both talking there. One, Lazy's conspiracy corner for the day, for the episode. What if old Hamzat went astray and soured the mood of one Mr. Kadyrov and ingested some sort of substance, however many months ago, and all these health problems that have been plaguing him are a little bit more intentional than side effects, shall we say? Well, it's just a thought. Just a thought.
A touch of polonium in his porridge.
Possible. A little,
I mean, that is a thing that the Kremlin has been known to do, but neither here nor there. No, not making any formal accusations. Just things have happened and mysterious circumstances arise.
a little bit of borax in your beet borscht. Yeah. But yeah, a second thought though that popped into my head. It's kind of funny that Dangermouse put out that fighter review some months back, and it's been all downhill for Mr. Khamzat. Dangermouse?
That's bad news for Dakota Ditchaver then, because I'm planning on doing one on her as well in the near future. My new favorite English fighter.
Yeah, and then last thing I'll say, I'll end it on a positive, a little bit of silver linings here. If whatever is plaguing Khamzat, if he can get that under control and he can right the ship and get back on a regular fighting schedule and back on his winning ways and impressing everybody the way he was, if he can manage to do that, what a hell of a fucking story this will be to have gone through whatever he's going through and come out the other side and still be that guy if it should happen.
Oh yeah, for sure, that would be amazing.
They need to get him out of the area that he's in, and they need to get him back either into the European gym that he was training at. I don't know if he's still a member of that. They either need to get him there, or he needs to get into the US.
He's changed citizenship now. He's a
Yeah.
resident of the area he's in.
No, you mean the Chechenian?
No, is it the Arab Emirates he's now moved to?
Oh, Jesus Christ. So
he's actually changed citizenship. He's no longer a Swedish citizen. And he gave up his Chechen identity ages ago. But obviously Kadyrov holds him to that to some degree. And presumably still has family in the region, which obviously is not a good idea to piss off Kadyrov.
No, and not a lot of that is in his control either. I was just thinking, like, if he's out of there and he's through a legal system where he's kind of been pushed, checked, whatever, cleared of whatever that they're holding over him, I guess, or whatever's preventing him from actively getting into the U.S. or other countries, once he's past that and he's actually on a regular basis getting checked up by other doctors, in a camp, being healthy inside of a gym that's going to keep him like consistent, then we've actually made progress. Until that happens, we have not or will not.
That's fair. That's fair. I think we'll end on this. If it's not Kadirov's doing, and it's not a Danger Mouse curse, then it's definitely Darren Till's fault.
Now that's a good person to blame.
That is an old name right there, sir.
Okay, all right. On to some actual current fight talk finally. Main event of last night's festivities gave us the 15-0 Japanese phenom Tatsuro Taira versus flyweight vet Alex Perez. Quick turnaround for the man fighting out of Lemoore, California, Perez, starching Mateus Nicolau not even 2 months ago. You guys can actually go back and listen to that episode of the show we did after this if you want to. Taira's last fight was against Carlos Hernandez in December of last year, not by choice, but rather due to several cancellations. Big stakes here for the flyweight division and a pretty wild ending. What did you think about this matchup, Danger Mouse?
Okay. Yep. Tyra, I've had my casual's eyes on for a little while. He's very, very dangerous. I remember in the last fight that you just mentioned, I picked him to get the win by submission because we were doing the OK bet thing at the time. And then he fouled up by knocking the guy clean out. Very annoying for me, for my bets. But yeah, I mean, the guy's lethal. He's jiu-jitsu, obviously, is absolutely fantastic. Perez did seem to be giving him a lot of trouble early on, but he pulled it out of the bag. He got that wicked back take, slipped into position, and then he got that weird little... He hooked his leg inside, and then if you've noticed the breakdown, he actually has Perez's arm pulled across his chest, and he's holding onto that so that he can lean back, and he causes that torque on the leg. Perez falls over. For whatever reason, it knackers up his knee. He was laying on the ground, absolutely screaming his head off once they got Tyro away from him.
Yeah.
He was clearly in a great deal of pain. The doctors were coming in, looking over him. Great win for Tyra. Very unlucky for Perez. I haven't looked up to see what injury has actually been attributed to him, if anything has been notified or not yet. But yeah, I mean, 16-0 now. The guy has to be looking at somewhere. I don't really know where he's going to be looking in the ratings. I think he did call out the champ, didn't he? In his
I think so.
my
Yeah,
mind has gone blank. Yeah,
sure.
I don't think he's ready for that just yet. But yeah, I mean, get him a top 15, top 10 opponent. I'm not sure where Perez was ranked. I haven't bothered to check.
I'm not sure either.
But yeah, as you said, he's the Japanese Great White Hope, as it were. We haven't had a Japanese champion yet, and he looks like he could very well be a future one. And I hope he does. It'd be great for the UFC. It'd be great for Japan.
Mm-hmm.
The guy seems likable. He's obviously very, very dangerous. I can't remember the name of the guy who's Jimmy trains at in Okinawa, but he's also a legend, I believe, in MMA. Apparently, he just turned up at his gym when he was fairly young, and the guy took one look at him and went, "Yeah, kid, you're damn good. I'm going to train you." So, and it was not the wrong choice, obviously. So yeah, great fight by Tira. Very unlucky for Perez, but it was a nice finish at the end of the card. I do have to say one more thing on it. Is the curse of the gloves real? Because again, we've had a card that we had 11 or 12 fights on that card. Not a single KO. The only stoppages were due to submissions. So yeah, are these gloves hindering strikers?
I sure fucking hope not.
I guess we will find out when Alex and Yuri face off.
A good point. I'm going to go ahead and jump in here before you, Austin, just change up the order. And I don't got a whole lot to say on this one. Really, my only thing here is fuck you to all the people online and all the comment sections that are saying that this was a fucking fluke or some sort of accident and Tyra fucking was gifted this fucking victory. No, dude, like anyone who knows anything, or if anyone that even watched the fucking replay closely, you can clearly see that this is intentional. the way Tyra's gripping the far wrist of Perez, the tightness of the body lock, the way he's jerking his body. I actually made a joke last night that it reminded me of somebody riding a bull, just leaning back and getting deep down in the saddle on that sumbitch. And but that was a fucking completely intentional maneuver, and Perez's fucking knee or ankle, whichever it was that gave out, that wasn't just some fluke fucking occurrence. That was, although that may not have been what Tyra had in mind, that maneuver and that sequence was intentional. So big fuck you to everybody who says, oh, it was a fucking accident. He lucked into that and eat shit.
Yeah, it's the same as Perez. No, I'm sorry, Yair versus Ortega. The concept of the finish was not
Yeah,
intentional, but it's still a finishing sequence, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Tyra did say he trained that move. He told Bisping that anyway in his interview after the fight. So,
It looked like it.
yeah, no. So I was going to say the intention was probably wasn't to smash his knee to pieces or whatever the hell he did to him. But yeah, it was clearly a practice move. So,
Yeah,
great job.
I I have to say I was I had picked Perez, and I don't know. Mouse can double check this or dead wrong me if I'm not. I think I was the only one that picked him. Correct.
You were indeed, yes. It was a brave move.
It and I had based that solely on the idea of Perez being a veteran and a guy who has faced top tier UFC flyweight contenders. And he did dabble at 135 because he was having trouble making weight for a small period of time. I I I'm honestly kind of heartbroken for the guy. He had finally got consistency in his last two fights, and knowing how hard it was just for him to get here, just so that he could, get it. He had finally gotten some consistency in his last fight against Mokaev. When a fight, I honestly thought that he'd won. He was winning at least the later half of that fight, and then he knocks out a guy that, well, honestly, everybody kind of thought he would just kind of lose to. Like, oh, it wasn't going to be an exciting fight. He catches him, knocks him out, and this fight he seemed to be kind of on that same trajectory of pushing through. He was doing the right things. He was getting countered. He was landing heavy shots. The clinch work was going to be the thing that Tyra was going to try to abuse. And every time he did, if he threw a knee or he threw an elbow, he was getting countered with a hook or an uppercut. And it wasn't perfect or pretty, but Perez was pushing through it, and he was keeping the fight on standing. Every time he got countered, he'd land a heavy right or at least a straight, and he would make sure he was making Tyra earn those strikes that he was landing. And Tyra was the faster fighter, the younger fighter, probably the stronger fighter, but it was making Tyra work. All to the credit that once Tyra got like his grappling game going, you could see a momentum shift, and then Alex Perez for some reason decides to stand. Tetsuya Taira gets the body lock, and you could just see right off the bat he's working Alex Perez. He's making him work harder. Perez, matter of fact, tries to stand up and actually leans away when Taira is, yanking with his body, doing the whole bull riding thing, like Lazy was saying. And the minute I saw that leg come up behind the back of the right knee, I immediately knew this is not a good position, and either he needs to get down to the mat or find a way to yank him off of him. And I think that's what Perez was trying to do, was to yank him off. He mistimed it, and you could see his knee buckle. That to me looks like either. No, I'm not a doctor. Dads would probably know better than me, but that's definitely a tendon tear. That's a tendon tear, and I know that because I've had that situation. The minute I saw it, my knee got really tight, and I kind of I don't do this very often when I watch fights, but I cringed a little bit, and that I felt some pain. Not to say I felt his pain, because his might be different than what I had, but that's not a fun position to be in, especially when you saw how he reacted. Congratulations to Tyra. that sequence, his ability to adapt and then push the fight into position where he started to get momentum going, that was brilliant. His back take was phenomenal. You cannot take anything away from Tyra. He earned this win. It's just unfortunate how it came about, and I am, like I said, I'm heartbroken for Alex Perez.
Yeah, well, to once again end this with some silver linings here on a positive note. At least for Perez, this long layoff he's likely to experience won't be his own fault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
All the fight time he's about to miss won't be due to him fucking pulling out of 3-4 fucking bouts that are scheduled.
Not all of those were his. Not all of those were his.
Yeah, no, I'm just fucking around. But yeah, quick recovery and fucking good tidings to you, Alex Perez. I hope that you get on the mend soon. And yeah, good win for Tetsuro Taira.
Careful, Lazy. You don't want to poke the bear that is Austin at the moment.
Yeah, we've rattled this man enough today. His poor family's gonna have to deal with him after this. Hey, all right, anything else on this this main event, guys?
Not the main event now.
All right.
No. I was gonna say the fact that flyweights are being featured in the main event is a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It is.
And I did predict the card of the night before. Sorry, the fight of the night before I fell asleep last night. The two ladies whose name is slipping my mind at the moment. They
You did?
battered the hell out of each other for the first 12 and a half minutes of the fight. I was comparing it to Wei Li versus Joanna Champion. It was that much of a, just banging the hell out of each other. And then they ended up grappling. They obviously got a bit tired and started grappling up a bit more in the second, later parts of the second round. But yeah, absolutely amazing fight. The ladies fully deserved the fight of the night bonus, which I believe is what they got.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. I agree with you there. I'll do a little quick impromptu Lazy's leftovers here, and we'll lead off with that. That fight that you're referencing there, Danger Mouse, that was Gabriela Fernandez versus Carly Judice.
Thank you. Yeah.
And they did indeed win fight of the night. I was a little bit on the fence with that decision there because they edged.
Yeah, because
Fernandez.
you picked Judice, yeah.
This is true. I do a little bit biased. Judice, though, fucking what a beast for not having much of a record, a professional
Yeah,
record.
4-0, wasn't she, going into this?
3-1, I believe. 3-1.
Sorry.
Either way. But yeah, just a few other tidbits on this card. Shout out UFC. This was the celebratory 100th event at the UFC Apex.
Oh,
This was we finally got the UFC Apex 100.
Thought this was Vegas 93.
Well, I'm going off of Wikipedia right now. It's saying it was the 100th event the promotion hosted at the UFC Apex.
Ah, okay.
Either way, I just thought that was a little bit of an interesting tidbit there. Another thing, we were supposed to have an Andrei Arlovsky fight on this card against Martin Budai, but that got moved to UFC 303 for unknown reasons. So we got shortchanged of a classic appearance by the Pitbull Andrei Arlovsky. And then, just to go back to it, like you were saying, Danger Mouse, a big shout out to Fernandez and Judice for putting on that fight. That was a hell of a scrap. If there's two fights that you're going to go back and watch on this card that I would recommend you do if you wanted to, it would be that one and then the Brady Heastand fight. Who did he face?
Oh, that was Garrett Armfield.
Oh yeah. Heastand and Armfield. That was a fucking hell of a scrap.
Brady's a big bantamweight.
He is, and he could take some fucking damage and keep going. Impressive win there. I was on the Armfield side, so I was disappointed. I had terrible picks last night.
I think we all did. So I think I went 6-5 after going 10-2 on the previous week's card.
The other shout out from that fight goes to Michael Chiesa, who cornered. He started the night at the studio desk doing commentary with Alan Joban and Karen Bryant. Then he cornered Brady Heastand for that fight, and then went back up to the fucking desk to continue in the post-fight show. So shout out to Michael Chiesa for his efforts last night.
Getting paid twice. That's the way to do it.
Weird that they can have that bias, for your teammate. And we can imagine if his teammate had like lost a questionable decision.
Yeah, that's true. They definitely wouldn't want to put you on the post-fight desk for a Robert Whittaker fight.
Honestly, that'd be fair. I couldn't even be mad at that.
Yeah, other than that, I think that was about all the interesting facts from this card. Oh, and then, of course, quick shout out and RIP to the Joshua Van fight that was supposed to take place and didn't because his opponent missed weight.
Yeah,
Van seemed up for it for what I saw of him. I thought he was saying, "Come on, let's fight."
I think that's a commission thing. Also, it probably is that if you miss weight by that much, that means you were definitely sick. Sometimes, and that the doctors are like, no, don't do it. And then the coach and because that's Khabib's boy, right?
I don't know. It was
I
three
think
pounds. 3 pounds he missed weight by, wasn't it? I'm sure I've seen bigger weight losses than that they've carried on and had the fight.
At flyweight, it's not always the easiest thing to recover from, especially since it could also be that he was sick while making weight, which means that they basically were like, no, don't, no.
Yeah.
There could be multiple different things.
Yeah. Fight cancelled because of reasons.
Reasons, yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, that Asu Bayev guy was also on the card, right? And he looked good. I mean, against a bigger flyweight opponent as well. Multiple smaller flyweights on this card. Great. And that's good. They're actually pushing the flyweight division, which is not usually the thing they do.
Okay, guys. Anything else at all?
Nah, I think nah.
Yeah. No?
I mentioned the curse of the gloves, so no, I'm good.
Fair.
Okay.
More
Well,
eye pokes too.
yeah, this is true.
That was kind of weird. In the Tyra fight, the ref was telling him off. It was kind of, you got to have your fingers up, and then it was like you got to have your hand closed and your fingers up. He clearly wasn't poking him in the eye. At one point, he just shoved his head backwards, and his finger slipped into his eye.
Watch your fucking eyes. I don't care if it's the old gloves, the new gloves. It doesn't much matter. If you're in a mixed martial arts contest, you better, I don't know, be mindful of fucking eye pokes because they seem to be an occurrence that's increasing in frequency.
Yeah, new gloves. They're working well, obviously.
Mhm.
And Nutson needs to watch her up kicks when her opponent is still grounded. That was a pretty horrible one.
Briefly reminiscent of Charles Oliveira.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you creepy freaks and freaky creeps. That sounds like the end of another episode of the Weekend Roundup. No rest for the wicked, though, because not only are we back at you next week for a roundup of all things Whittaker versus Aliskerov, but we also got a sick preview show coming your way in just a few days here, breaking down the entire Saudi Arabia main card, hosted by your boy DM. So keep tuned to the channel and keep riding with us. We got to get the fuck out of here, though. Send us off, guys.
Let's get the fuck out of it. See you on the flip side.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time. It's a great weekend. Yeah.
Make some weird animal noises or something, Austin. It's traditional. Along with the fuck you, Craig.
Hold on.
Well, then I certainly shook it up. Yeah. The only Taylor Swift song I actually quite like. The video's very amusing.